Hello, everyone. My name is AJ Kuftik, and I'm Principal Technologist with Expedient. Today, we're going to talk about how the cloud is not a destination. For those of you who are new to Expedient, we were founded in 2001. We started as a co-location company, moved into managed services, and are now in cloud. We have cloud locations US East, Central, and West. Our West region just opened at the end of 2019. It's almost a year old now. And we have international cloud deployments on customer sites in Australia, Germany, and Canada. So if our cloud locations don't work, we can bring that cloud to you. And that's not just internationally, we can do that domestically as well. And we're a VMware cloud provider and have been since 2007. We have 45,000 virtual machines on our platform. So we've been able to run VMware solutions at scale and run applications at scale for over a decade now. So when we start to talk about cloud with customers, whether that's with prospects, whether that's with existing customers who are looking to make that next step, we always have to ask the question, what's driving cloud? And when we look at what's driving cloud, I think about it more like a roadmap. And I don't know how many of you guys or gals have an experience with the AAA triptychs. They were the thing that you would go to AAA and you would say, I'm going from my house to vacation destination or road trip destination. And they would give you things like, here's how you get there. Here's where, these are things to watch out for. They would give you things like, here's where construction is, or here's where there's usually some heavy police enforcement. And they would help you get there safely, get there quickly, and get there comfortably. But when we start to talk about this, the roadmap gets kind of split, right? There's not really one roadmap or three roadmaps. There's just really as many roadmaps as there are groups actually talking about it. But if we break this down, I want to break it into three separate groups. The first is infrastructure. And infrastructure is near and dear to my heart as a longtime infrastructure person. These are our people. This is also a lot of our general customer base that we have now, right? So these are the people that we end up talking to the most, but this is what we kind of hear and see from them. These infrastructure people, especially the longtime people at an organization, have seen pretty much every major infrastructure change in the compute side for the last 20 to 30 years. They saw a mainframe, HPUX and AIX, then the move to x86 and PC server, then the move from physical to virtual with virtualization. And they either A, see cloud as the next level, or they see cloud as the last level for especially the people who have been there for a long time. And as you start to look at that from the next level, it's very easy to get excited about all the various technologies that are inside of it and the capabilities that are in there. But it's also very easy to get concerned because infrastructure, by and large, for the last 20 to 30 years, has been the security and audit point for the business, especially from a technology standpoint. If you look at any of the various compliance regimes, HIPAA, SOC 2, PCI, ISO, all of them have some sort of security control inside of it that says, why does this person have access to a thing? How do you know that they're supposed to have access to this thing? And how did you document that they had access to this thing? And how do you prevent people who don't have access from getting access to it? And so all of these are the same sort of compliance points that they've had to maintain for the last 20 to 30 years. And when they look at cloud, they don't see the most straightforward line to do that because the cloud starts to blur that line. And that's no different than any service provider or anything else, but it's one of those things where the infrastructure people, especially the on-prem main users, have had their concerns. At the top, we have the business, and the business wants agility and speed to market. They have watched everything change over the last 6 months. They have watched everything change over the last 5 years. And so they've had to meet new challenges. They've had to meet new capabilities in the marketplace, and they want to do that quickly. And they struggle sometimes, and I'm sure everybody here on this call has gone through this, where we need resources, we need them now, but it's going to take time for them to ship in and get the funding and get it purchased, everything that goes into traditional IT procurement. And so that causes them a great deal of concern. And they go to conferences just like we do, right? If you go to a tech conference, you're watching this very webinar right now. When you do those and you go to those, you're hearing it from the technical side. The business is going to their conferences. They're talking to their peers. They're talking to their colleagues and even the people who market to them in their space. And they're all saying that cloud is the way. If you want to fix these things, if you want to eliminate these problems that you have, you need to start looking at cloud services. They get advertised to on TV, they get advertised to at their conferences, but it's a much different message for them than it is for the technical side. And finally, we have the developers. And the developers have heard you. They've heard all of the end users. They've heard that their applications are old and clunky and stagnant. And they know this because they've seen the inside of their applications. They've had to put in every bug fix and every feature request, and they see just how truly, clunky and old and creaky their applications can be. And they want to modernize. They see the cloud as the future. Look at these platforms that I can just go take. Look at these platforms that I can just go use, instead of here's the platform that I'm being given by my infrastructure team. And so what they want to do is they want to modernize with freedom. They want to run out there with a credit card. They want to swipe it. They want to take the set. They want to take the service, and they want to go. But what they run into is the infrastructure people saying, whoa, 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 we got to secure and control this. And then they both go back to the business, and the business says, we need to just do something because we want to move quickly. And so it leads to this big question mark in the middle as to how to actually do this and how to properly do this. And so what ends up happening here is you'll note that I didn't really talk about any specific technologies or why you would use the cloud for that. I'm talking about specific outcomes. And so what really happens is we ask, what's cloud driving, right? You don't go on vacation just to drive. Some people do, right? Road trips are fun. But most people don't go on a road trip just to go for the drive. They go to a place, right? So when we sit down and kind of think about that, we ask, where do you want to go? Because when you say, I'm going on vacation, there's a bunch of different vacations to go on, just like there are a bunch of different clouds to go to. And they each offer their own individual capabilities, whether that's the ability to lift and shift easily, whether that's the ability to take on massive scale, you want to take on specific platforms or specific technologies. All of those things are available, and they vary across clouds. So the first question really is, what's the attraction? What's really driving you to go there? If I want to go to the beach, it's because I want to relax, not see a show. If I'm going to go see shows, I don't want to go hiking, right? So what is the attraction? Understanding really the why of why you're going to the cloud, why you want to go do those things. And that can help inform a number of your decisions, specifically things like how much is it going to cost? If you are going out to the cloud to specifically gain a new capability or take advantage of a new technology, your cost model is going to be different than it was before. Instead of buying a bunch of hardware and a bunch of software, you're going to be taking advantage of these services on a month-to-month basis. And that can be very beneficial to your business, but it can also lead to big spikes in the big bill that everybody has heard of I got my cloud bill and it was way higher than I expected because somebody left something running. So how much is this going to cost, and how are you going to control costs as part of that? And finally, what's the itinerary? What are you going to do, and how are you going to go do that? Is this I want to pick everything up and move it all up there and I'll figure it out later? Or are you going to piecemeal this? Is it a slow burn? Is it a slow pickup and move? And so until you understand the why, the how, and the what you're going to be doing, it's very hard to make the cloud a place to go to. And then we start asking the question of, well, what are you bringing? And do you need it? Right? Is this something that you're going to pick up everything and move it? If I go on vacation to the beach, I don't need to bring my couch. If I go to a hotel, I don't need to bring a bed. There's a bed there that I can use. And so what I need to bring along with me are the things to make that comfortable. Maybe I don't like the pillows that hotels have, or maybe I bring my own blanket or something like that to make it as comfortable as I can when I'm there. Versus how do I do everything as comfortably as possible, but do it temporarily, right? Do you need to bring these things back, and will it fit when it gets there, right? Do I really need to take up all the room in my car for my couch if I'm going to the beach, right? Can I bring folding chairs? Taking a look at what it is that you actually want to do and finding the right fit. Because as I kind of gave it away in the title here, but the cloud isn't the destination, it's the vehicle. Right? Cloud enables a number of these sorts of changes. It enables a lot of these functions. And so it turns into less, why am I going to the cloud? And it's more, what is the outcome that I'm looking for? And so when we start to look at these outcomes, there's three big ones that I've generally heard from our customers. You may have heard some other ones, but these are the ones that we hear when we talk to customers. The first one is the simplest one. It's data center exit, right? They don't want to be in the business of owning and operating a data center, right? There's various reasons for that. One, it costs a lot to maintain a data center: air conditioning, power, floor space, the building itself, the facilities. All of those things cost a lot of money to maintain. And if you want to renovate any of those things, it costs a lot to renovate that. So there's a big upfront capital cost that then more or less puts you into that building for a very long time while that asset depreciates. So as you start to look at your data center, is there a reason for you to exit? Second is agility, right? And this is the big one that I think a lot of people want. They don't necessarily know how, right? And so when they look at cloud, they look at the ability to meet demand where it is, right? If you're a seasonal business, you want to meet demand when demand happens, not meet demand with the resources that you carry all year long. And so that gives you a better opportunity to change your cost model. It gives you a better opportunity to keep your applications where they need to be and only spend for what you're using. But what that agility also gives you is the ability to respond to change. So I don't know, let's say you're a large retail organization and a global pandemic hits and people can't really go into your stores anymore. How do you respond to that change? Well, guess what? Your online ordering just became your storefront, your main storefront. So how do I make sure that my application is available in every place that it needs to be so that I can have all of my, wares available? And it makes it easy when you're doing things in a scale up fashion or a scale out fashion with a cloud to be able to say, oh, hey, we need more web front ends. There they go. And finally, a new operating model. We've all been here. If you're a traditional infrastructure person, you have gone through the traditional, we're going to buy a thing, we're going to use it for 3 to 4 years, then we're going to replace the thing. Rinse and repeat over and over and over again. And to be honest, it's worked for a very long time. But now that we want this agility, we can't be holding all of this hardware. We can't be holding on to it and milking it for as long as we possibly can. So the ability to change over to an OpEx model can actually be a huge benefit. So let's dive into these three. The first is data center exit. And stop me if you've seen this room before. This might be your current room. This might be a room you've seen in the past, but you may have aging infrastructure. And that air conditioning unit that you see that appears to be slightly taped into the wall may be failing. And if it fails, so goes the rest of that infrastructure. And so when we're looking at building out this infrastructure, how do we make sure that we're able to keep up so that the business doesn't have to deal with our failures as infrastructure, right? And let's say you were an organization and you had to start taking on things like SOC 2. SOC 2 specifically, I know, has physical security requirements around data center access. And retrofitting all of that into your data center can actually be incredibly expensive. So from a compliance cost standpoint, it may actually make sense to exit the data center and move into a cloud. And finally, let's say you want higher resiliency. We've had customers who come to us, they have one computer room that's very much like this, but when they move into an enterprise cloud or even a hyperscale cloud, they get access to a data center network. So they're able to access multiple data centers and actually build out proper disaster recovery and proper availability. There's the agility aspect of this, and really it's scalability, right? This should actually be titled stability, because that's what we're really after here. Is we want to hit our scale for our customers. That's your end users. And so you want to be able to meet that demand. When your customers are coming in and your web server can't keep up, you're starting to lose revenue. Revenue that you're not necessarily recognizing because you don't actually see the sale go away, you don't see a return, but you just don't see the sale in the first place. So being able to meet that customer demand where it is and keep up with what they want is actually a really, really important thing. We've heard from retailers who sell sneakers that sneaker drops on Saturday mornings at 10 a.m. are the busiest time of the website, other than Black Friday, which is Something that not a lot of people think about, but it's an incredibly important time. And if you've tried to buy any sort of very fancy sneakers on Saturday mornings at 10 a.m., you'll know exactly why they have to fight off bots. And so there's other things like the ability to pivot. Look at all the big retail organizations that their storefronts became their main website for curbside pickup as part of the pandemic. The ability to pivot and say, oh, everybody's going to be able to do curbside now. The ability to take on all of that online ordering and continue bringing in revenue to the business while making sure that they're able to keep up with that when they can't have physical people in the stores. Look at a number of restaurants, especially around here in Pittsburgh. A number of restaurants went to takeout only. They had online ordering for the first time. They had takeout alcohol for the first time. A lot of these things changed almost instantly. Now, is every single business change a global pandemic? I certainly hope not. But these are the sorts of things that can come up, and the ability to meet change when it happens and be able to pivot quickly can help the business move faster. And finally, you can take a chance. Think about big data. Big data requires big hardware. You need to have a lot of storage. Then you need to have a lot of compute to actually analyze all of the data that you just put on that storage. And trying to buy all of this up front is very expensive. Trying to maintain it is very time consuming. But the ability to take on a big data platform without having to pay for all of the upfront costs allows you to take a very low risk entry into a new platform or a new capability that can provide you and your business a ton of value. And if it doesn't work, you just shut it down and move on. Right? You don't have to use it forever. You're not signed into a 3-year contract. You're not signed into a 3-year lease. You can take it on for a month and take that chance on a new service without having to really, flip the apple cart over to figure out a way to make it work. And finally, the new operating model. And I don't think that anybody here is going to shake their head no at me when I say the CapEx is getting harder to justify. It's very, very hard to get CapEx right now because the various businesses that are out there have a very uncertain future right now. They have no idea when they're going to be able to go back to normal operations. And so when you're asking for money for new storage or to replace hardware, that wallet is real empty. A lot of dust bunnies in that wallet. And so trying to figure out a way to get to where you're going and trying to figure out a way to keep up with the outcomes that the business is looking for, because guess what? That doesn't change. Their goals have not changed. They want to still do the things that they want to go do, but they just don't have any money to give you to go do it. So you have to deal with just enough resources, which is where a cloud model can come in. You are matching usage to spend. And when you move into something like an enterprise cloud, you can get a predictable monthly cost, where instead of having the big gigantic bill or the big gigantic CapEx purchase, it becomes more like your monthly budget, where you can say, this is how much I pay for X, this is how much I pay for Y. And so being able to have that predictable monthly cost can help you get all the cloud operating model that you want while making your CIO and CFO happy. And if you have hyperscale ambitions, or you have a hyperscale platform that you want to go use, let Expedient be your travel agent. We can help you map out the route to get there in the most effective way possible. We can help accelerate that transformation. When you have a bunch of legacy applications or even current applications that aren't necessarily a great fit for a hyperscale platform, you can land them on our enterprise cloud and get the same cloud operating model, the same monthly OpEx instead of the big, gigantic, every 3-year CapEx, while still maintaining your existing apps without having to refactor them. So you can actually focus on the transformation that you're trying to get to, the big data platform, AI, ML, cloud native applications. We can help accelerate that by taking away the noise of day-to-day infrastructure operations. We can also help you optimize those costs. If you're looking at a hyperscale provider that offers a bunch of credits as part of some sort of enterprise agreement, when you have those credits come in and you start to load all of your, say, VMs into that platform, it starts utilizing those credits up front. And so you don't get to use the credits on the things that you really want to go use. You're using them on stuff you're already running today. So we can help optimize those costs so you use the credits as wisely as possible. And we can help you figure out the right workload for the right cloud. So when you're bringing your legacy Oracle applications, you don't necessarily want to put those into AWS, right? You don't want to put those into Azure. We can help set up an Oracle platform for you. You want to bring this legacy application that requires low latency connection to a physical server. We have co-location services right next to our enterprise cloud with cloud on-ramps, our big high-speed, low-latency connectivity to hyperscale to enable you to modernize those applications and take the data and find new and better outcomes for your business. So please join us next week. We're going to do a presentation called Crossing the Cloud Chasm, where we talk about the enterprise cloud versus a hyperscale cloud and really dig deep on those two platforms and the benefits of each. And if you want to talk further about your cloud goals, reach out to me, aj.kuftik@expedient.com, or go to expedient.com and click the Let's Talk link at the top of the page, and we can figure out a way to get you to the cloud and the transformation that you're looking for.